Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Aviator Paramotor. This morning we're going to go for a little flight and talk about the details of the Paramotor STOL Classic and some questions that you guys sent in for me.
All right, what is your favorite task and why? So I think personally my favorite task so far has been the STOL competition. I love the skill set behind launching and landing and pushing my limits to see how short of a distance I can do both of those things in. And in the STOL comps I have participated in and experienced, I've loved the camaraderie that happens on the ground. I love seeing people face off head to head and push themselves to their limits in terms of launching and landing. It's just a really fun thing to watch and experience. I'm also excited to see how the navigation goes in this competition with the Gaggle aspect of it. Over in the World Championship, we only got to use a paper map as our form of navigation, and it just took a lot of your focus while flying, and it kind of took away a little bit of the fun of flying for me. So I am looking forward to seeing how this kind of changes the navigation and if I'll enjoy it a little bit more this time around. How did the English competition go? How many miles did you end up flying for that? The English competition went really well for me. I just went into it with a learning mindset. I had not done a majority of the tasks that we went to compete in, so it was a lot of new stuff. It was a little nerve-wracking, but just being in that environment, meeting those people, just learning and absorbing was a really good experience. I would say it was kind of type 3 fun, where in the moment you're stressed and it doesn't feel like that much fun, but then after the fact you look back on it and you're like, yeah, I actually did enjoy that a lot. In terms of how many miles we ended up flying, I have no idea. I wasn't able to track myself while we were flying. Um, but on our navigation days, those were definitely the days where we racked up the most miles. On our first day, we were able to fly for 5 hours, and I believe I ended up flying for 4 before the weather kind of turned out of my comfort zone. And then our second navigation day, we could fly for 3 hours, and I used up that full 3 hours just going out and collecting points on the map. So in total, no idea how many miles, but we did rack up some miles over the entire county of Kent in England. How do I reduce my takeoff speed / distance safely? So this is a really great question in terms of the STOL aspect of this competition. And my biggest piece of advice is just to practice your kiting. You want to be able to get that wing up and in perfect position as quickly as you can so that you can roll onto your power safely. So practice your kiting over and over and over again. Practice it in different winds, whether it be no wind or 10 miles per hour. You want to make sure that when that wing gets up, you have no pitch oscillation issues. It just comes up stable above your head and you can perfectly roll onto your power very quickly. And then the other aspect of that is your lean back. You want to make sure you are leaning back into that power and that thrust so that it's pushing you up into the air so that you can catch lift a lot faster. Whereas if you're just running with your head down and your body face down, that propeller is pushing you into the ground and it's making it a lot harder for that wing to pick you up. So definitely practice your kiting and practice your lean back. How much anxiety do you feel leading up to a task? How do you deal with anxiety? So I definitely have experienced a lot of anxiety in terms of competing at the World Comp. I was just anxious before every single task. I think it was pretty normal because I had not done a lot of those things and I was in a new environment around new people. It can be good to have anxiety and it can be good to have nerves because it keeps you safe, but you don't want to have so much anxiety to the point where it's stopping you from going out and doing the thing. And that's my biggest thing with this competition and just wanting to answer whatever questions people have, because I don't want you to stop yourself from coming to do this competition solely because you're scared of messing up. You're scared of what people may think of you. You're nervous to the point where it prohibits you from competing and just experiencing and learning and having fun. So my biggest piece of advice is just to tune back into yourself in these moments where you're surrounded by a lot of people. It's important to just kind of forget anyone else is there. Just make sure you are still keeping yourself in check, taking your nice deep breaths, smiling, and most importantly, having fun, because at the end of the day, we are just flying paramotors and it really is not that serious. 99% of the people competing with you really only are caring about themselves and what they're messing up on, and they're really not nitpicking you and remembering what little mistakes you're making. We're all going to be there to uplift each other and help each other in any way that we can. How can you practice for this competition? Piece of advice, know your gear really well. Bring gear that you are comfortable on. Don't bring a glider that you've only put 2 to 3 hours on, or a motor that has more power than you're comfortable with. Know how long you can fly on one tank of gas. Know how fast you are going in different wind speeds. And if you're not a cross-country flyer, go out and go for some long flights. Practice sitting in that paramotor seat for 2 hours and just get comfortable with that process. For the accuracy tasks, such as the spot landing, what I like to do is lay out my wing bag in the field, launch, go up to at least 500 feet, fly over that wing bag, and then kill my motor. And from there, you're just trying to gauge your descent rate and your glide slope so that as you fly over that wing bag, you can hit your foot on it. The points aren't counted where you actually fully stop. It's just your first point of contact with the ground. So you're wanting to flare right over that target spot and then hit your foot right in the middle of the target, and that's where your points will be counted. For the bowling pin knockdown, I have gotten some pool noodles, cut them up into small pieces, and taped them to the top of water bottles to use as targets. Line them up in a row, and then same thing, take off, go to 500 feet, kill your motor, gauge your descent rate, and line yourself up for a nice swoop flare landing over those pins so that as you're flaring, you have a lot of energy and you are able to knock all of those pins down in one swoop. We have been using Gaggle these past few days. We've been practicing with the racetracks here at Lake Wales Airport, and it's been really fun to see how it works with the Gaggle app. We have been testing the limits of it, looking for loopholes, looking for how you can get penalty points. And one thing is, if you go backwards on a racetrack, you will get points deducted. So say you're flying through the racetrack, you make a wrong turn, or you ended up going the wrong direction, you'll get points taken off for that. If you are flying the racetrack and you leave and then come back to it, you will also get points deducted for that. If you go through a no-fly zone, you'll get 50% of your points taken off. And when you are going through a racetrack, there's a clearly defined start and stop gate. The start is green, the stop is red, and you want to make sure you actually fly through those actual start gates in order to collect as many points as you can.
All right, that was a fun flight. Thank you for listening in if you did, and I hope to see you at the Paramotor STOL Classics. See ya!